And continuing on and figuring out all these angles here, realize this angle here is a right angle, that's 90 degrees. Well, if you want to figure out this angle here, you're going to have to know just that angle right there. In order to get that, it'd probably be helpful to have that angle there. So let's get this missing piece right here. And we're going to use these two angles to help us out, because all the angles in a triangle add up to be 180. So we're going to take 180 minus 84 minus 36, and that's going to give us... oh, it takes a little bit of work trying to punch this in. And minus 36 is going to give us 60. So this little degree here is going to be 60. This angle here is 60, which is going to make this angle here 30, because 90 minus 60 there is going to give you 30. And all these three angles here have to add up to 180, so we're going to take 180 and subtract off that 86, subtract off the 30, and that's going to give us minus 86 minus 30. It's going to give us 64 degrees. And that's going to be our final answer. That's going to be what the question mark is. On 12, in order to get this angle, you need to have these two angles. And so we need to figure out this angle first, because those two are congruent. We'll get because of vertical angles. So let's figure out this angle. We'll have that angle, and then we'll use them to get our question mark there. So take 180 minus that 35 degrees here, and minus the 23 degrees there, because all the angles in a triangle add up to be 180. So if we subtract off the ones we know, we'll get the one we're missing. And so when we do that, we're going to get 122. So this angle here is 122, which is going to make this one 122. And then we can again use our property that all the angles add to 180 to get our missing angle. So take 180 minus that 122 angle, minus that 27 angle, and you'll get what's left over, which is going to be 31. So our missing degree angle up there is going to be 31 degrees. Moving on to 13. This one takes quite a bit more work, because you need to get this angle. In order to get that, you either need to have that angle, or you need to have these two angles here, that one and that one, to use the external angle theorem. Well, let's get this one real quick, because these make a linear pair. So take 180 minus 155. That's going to give you 25, if I could write it legibly, 25 degrees. So that right there is 25 degrees. We're practically halfway there, except we need to get that angle. And that one's part of this huge angle, which also adds up to be 180. And we don't have this angle yet. We have this one. That one's 90 degrees, by the way, in case you forgot what that little symbol means. So we got to get this angle before we can get this one here. Okay, and so I'm going to take 180 minus that 115 to get that other angle. That's right next to it. And when I do that, I'm going to get 65. So this angle here is 65 degrees. These three angles have to add up to be 180. So I'm going to take 180 and minus 85 minus 65. And that's going to get us 30 degrees, I believe. Here, let me double check. Minus 85, minus 65, 30 degrees. Yeah, so this little angle here is 30 degrees. This huge angle here has to add up to be 180. So I'm going to subtract off the 90 degrees, subtract off the 30 degrees to get just this little angle there. And when I do that, I'm going to get 60 degrees. So that's going to be 60 degrees. And finally, I can use my external angle theorem. Those two have to add up to be that question mark angle there. So 60 plus 25 is going to give me 85 degrees, and that is my question mark there. Moving on to 14. Again, I need to get this question mark, but I need to have these two angles first. And so let's get this one up here first by taking 180 and subtracting off the 156. And that's going to give us 24. So that little angle there is 24 degrees. I need to get this angle now. Well, that angle is congruent to that one, and luckily that one's part of a triangle. And so we can take the idea that all the angles in a triangle have to sum up to be 180. We'll subtract off 20, we'll subtract off the 35, and when you do that, you're going to get 125, I believe. Here, let me double check. 180 minus 20 minus 35 gives me 125, and that's what I thought. Okay, that one right there is going to be 125. Oh, not 120, 125 degrees, which makes that one also 125 degrees. And if we want to get the question mark, we just need to take 180, the sum of all the angles in a triangle, and subtract off the 24, subtract off the 125, and we'll have our final answer. So 180 minus 24 minus 125 is going to give us 31 degrees. And so our question mark there is 31 degrees. Here, let me write that a little bit more clear. 31 degrees, yeah. And we'll move on to 15. Again, to get this angle, you either need to have those two by the external angle theorem, or you need to have this angle here. I think I have to go for getting that angle first, and then I can just sum those angles up together to get my question right. Well, before I get this, I need to have these two angles, because these three will add up to be 180. Okay, and so we're going to get this angle. In order to get that, we need to have those angles here. So I need to get this one. Luckily, those two angles are the same because they're vertical angles. So that's 45 degrees. These two, with those two, we can get our third angle there. So I'm going to take 180, subtract off the 45, subtract off the 60, and that's going to give me 75 degrees. And so this angle here is 75 degrees. And now that I have these two, I can get my missing one there by taking 180 and subtracting off 75, subtracting off 68 degrees, because these three angles have to add up to be 180 because they make a line. So when I take 180 and I subtract off the 75 and subtract off the 68, I'm going to get 37 degrees. And finally, I can use those two angles to get my missing angle over here by the external angle theorem. Those two angles add up to be the external angle. So 100 plus 37 is 137 degrees, and that's my question mark. There you go, 15.